2 months ago in June, the Supreme Court rejected Donald Trump's effort to strip away birthright citizenship and rewrite the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. This week, he balked at that ruling, and he decided to try again anyway, because it's Donald Trump. Why not? On Thursday, the president signed 2 different executive orders attempting to put restrictions on who's automatically guaranteed citizenship after being born here on U.S. soil. And Donald Trump did not hide what this is.
I thought we were going to win it at the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we had a bad decision, very unfair decision. Our country suffers because of it, and we're ending it a different way.
What a baby. Ending it a different way. Remember that. Here's the law. The 14th Amendment says all persons born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. The Supreme Court confirmed that reading in 1898, United States versus Wong Kim Ark. And it confirmed it again in June. Trump versus Barbara, striking down Trump's first birthright citizenship order. This is what Chief Justice John Roberts wrote, quote, under the Constitution, they are citizens at birth. They are citizens at birth. So what's in round 2 of this doomed mission? One of the new executive orders denies citizenship to children of anybody who works for a foreign government or an international organization, not just diplomats with actual immunity, but embassy aides and UN staff and civil servants. It also excludes children whose parents are, quote, engaged in fraudulent activity to obtain citizenship. The second executive order targets so-called birth tourism, which is the practice of pregnant women traveling to the United States to give birth so their newborn can have automatic citizenship. The scope of birth tourism remains unclear, but estimates by the CDC and the Center for Immigration Studies show it amounts for less than 2%, 0.2 of babies born in the U.S. every year. But I want to bring something to your attention that is in these executive orders. They exclude the children of parents tied to groups that the government deems a terrorist organization. And here is why that is particularly troubling. We talked about this yesterday. Notice the examples the administration reaches for. Tren de Aragua, Antifa. Antifa, shorthand for anti-fascism, is not an organization. It is an idea. And we are talking about a decentralized movement with no headquarters, no membership roles, no leadership, a non-entity that Donald Trump declared a terrorist organization back in September. And since then, that completely made-up designation has so far only been used to target protesters. Follow the mechanism here. The executive branch decides who counts as a terrorist organization, and now the executive branch says that designation can determine whose children get to be Americans with all the rights that flow from it. So where does the White House claim that this new power comes from? Stephen Miller says the president is using, quote, his authority as commander-in-chief. But as legal experts have pointed out time and time again, there is no commander-in-chief power that allows a president to override the citizenship clause of the Constitution. He has no magic presidential wand. And state attorneys general are already gearing up for round 2 of this legal battle. Speaking to The Hill, Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford put it this way, quote, while President Trump believes he can dismantle the Constitution with a wave of his hand, our nation's founders established the rule of law. We will teach him that lesson as many times as he needs to learn it. The Constitution gives Congress the power to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. The ACLU's Cody Woofsy put it this way, quote, an executive order that tries to rewrite birthright citizenship will meet the same fate as the last one. He's probably right. The courts will almost certainly strike this down too, according to experts. But that is not the story. The story is a president who lost at the Supreme Court on the plain text of the Constitution and responded by signing essentially the same policy with new dressing. And then he told us exactly what he was doing, ending it a different way. Ending it a different way. Trump looked at our democratic process, at our system of checks and balances, and said, yo, I'm going to end it a different way. We've seen this movie before. Trump lost the 2020 election. He tried to overturn the result, and he ultimately failed. What happens now? Between now and 2028? What other powers will Donald Trump try to claim after the courts say no? And what else? What else might he try to end in a different way when it doesn't go his way? With more on this, I'm joined by California Attorney General Rob Bonta, who sued the Trump administration over his first attempt to restrict birthright citizenship and was in the courtroom at the oral arguments of the Supreme Court when Donald Trump sat there and listened to the case that he ultimately lost. Attorney General Bonta, it's good to see you.
Good morning, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Stephen Miller is saying these new orders they're narrower, I guess, and they do not conflict with the ruling that you were involved with at the Supreme Court. Do you believe that to be accurate?
I don't. This is Trump not being able to let it go, being a sore loser, being a chronic lawbreaker, a repeat offender, no regard for the law. He was literally in the courtroom listening to the Supreme Court. Apparently, he wasn't listening closely enough. We have the rule of law. We have the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States of America is stronger than and overrides any presidential decision. Remember, this is Donald Trump, who the day he was sworn in and raised his right hand and swore to follow the U.S. Constitution, he went into another room and proceeded to break it with an executive order that undermined the constitutional right of birthright citizenship. We sued him the next day. We won in the U.S. Supreme Court. And instead of complying with Wong Kim Ark and Barbara versus Trump and the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment, he is deciding to break the law again. So we're going to wait the 30 days set forth in the executive order to see what the Secretary of State does and what the Department of Homeland Security do. But the four categories that he has set forth, whether it be alien enemies, employees of foreign governments, the children of parents involved in birthright tourism, or the children of those born in territories where federal statute doesn't already confer citizenship, that seeks to rewrite, those categories seek to rewrite what the U.S. Constitution says. So this is very likely unconstitutional. This is Trump having a tantrum and not being able to take a loss by a U.S. Supreme Court with three of his appointees. And we're going to be monitoring closely, and we will act accordingly.
I just want to drill down on this, so-called birth tourism, which is its own issue. It's rooted, they've talked about this for a long time, in the administration's authority to crack down on visa fraud. That's what they say. Is there a legitimate distinction between regulating visa fraud and denying citizenship to a child born in the United States, in your view?
Yes, absolutely. There's a difference. If you're born on American soil, you're an American, period, full stop. That's what the Citizenship Clause says of the 14th Amendment. That's what their first executive order tries to rewrite and undermine, and so is very likely unconstitutional. If the president wants to take steps sort of, upstream, if you will, or the executive branch wants to make determinations and provide clear rules around who gets a visa when, under what circumstances, that could be a different analysis. But when it comes to whether someone is born on American soil, whether it's because of birth tourism or anything else, they're an American citizen. That's an important part of who we are as a country. It's a promise that's given to each child born on American soil that they're part of the American dream, that they can help make us a more perfect union by voting and serving on juries and even running for office. That cannot be changed by a president. So when it comes to those being born on American soil, the president cannot change that. They are citizens, period, full stop.
We know that Stephen Miller has been obsessed with this Alien Enemies Act, and the order, I guess, invokes so-called alien enemies, including people connected to groups the administration designates as terrorist organizations, as I mentioned, like Tren de Aragua and Antifa. Can you walk me through your concerns about giving the administration that kind of power when it comes to citizenship and the designation specifically of terrorist organizations?
Absolutely. I mean, they cannot be trusted. They are seeking unfettered, unchecked discretion to use this label of terrorist against anyone that they want to use it against. They have shown that they will abuse their power, that they will weaponize the government. See the United States Department of Justice and going after James Comey and Tish James, going after political enemies when Trump barks the order to go after enemies. Regardless of any liability or any guilt, they will do the same thing here. So it is very dangerous. It is very concerning, giving them carte blanche to slap a label of terrorism on anyone who they see as a political enemy. Is not a path we want to go down, and is very dangerous and likely unlawful.
No one better to talk to this morning on the issue of birthright citizenship. California Attorney General Rob Bonta beat President Trump at the Supreme Court once. Sounds like we might see a rematch. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks for having me.